Does internet porn know you're cheating on it?
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are covering Dirt the Gamer. I've been meaning to cover him for quite a while, been a huge fan since he had like 5K subs. A lot of the time he either does No Man's Sky content, which I don't play the game, I'm not the biggest fan of that, but I'm really intrigued by his podcasts. He has his own niche and he's great. You have to kind of watch them for yourselves to know what I mean, but he does a one-person podcast and it works wonderfully. But today I was just waiting for him to do a smaller video, one that's not a podcast or No Man's Sky, and it's just a general shorter video. So that's what we're going to cover today from him. As you can see, it's about Mario Party. I'm guessing a new one came out. I'm not the biggest Mario Party fan, but I've dabbled. I don't mind party games, and we'll see what he brings to the table today. Usually he has his own unique sense of humor, so let's get into it.
If you're anything like me, then Mario Party Superstars was basically your lifeblood, whereas Super Mario Party made you want to eat the bark off of every tree in North America. I had been patiently waiting for another Mario Party game, hoping for more creative boards, fewer motion controls, and more characters.
And that's the bad thing about the previous ones, is they kept dipping into all these gimmicks, and they aren't necessarily gimmicks out of the gate, but they get treated as such, especially with the Mario Party franchise, and it's gone downhill basically over time. And there was even one iteration, I think 1 or 2 ago, where you couldn't even control your own character. Everybody kind of moved together on the board, which is just, it got so bad at one point. So hopefully this one's much, much better.
Super Mario Party Jamboree does not feel real. It is the Mario Party game I've been waiting for my whole life, so let's stop messing around and talk about it already.
Okay.
The last thing I expected to feel when picking up a Mario Party game
Look at
was
that.
overwhelmed.
Is that a separate character movement? Not all together in one? That's already a huge improvement.
There was just so much to do. After the 45-minute tutorial, of course, the game opens up into a smorgasbord of modes. I felt like a kitten at a fish fry. I just didn't know where to start. Your main starting point is in Party Plaza, which operates a little bit like Super Mario Party's main menu, but much more simplified. It's basically a square, but without all of those nasty sharp.
I'm one of those people who love like the hub areas where you interact with basically menus, but they're just laid out in a hub instead. I always just find that way more interesting and better, especially since most people who create UI nowadays are completely lazy and boring, with the exception being, of course, Atlas, where they go the complete opposite way and they make them so bombastic and amazing. But yeah, even like fonts in games now are just so terribly bland and generic. Nothing pops out. So when they do hub worlds like this, it's a nice counterbalance to that, where they don't have to try with the menus or the font as much, and just, it's much better than a lazy UI.
Corners. By talking to Toad, you can add more local players and change your character.
Okay, that's cool.
It seems like it does take a few more button presses than previous entries, but I'll get used to it. Nearby is the new Party Planning Committee, which is a solid way for solo players to have a slower-paced introduction to the series. You can freely roam around boards and help everyone do menial tasks like finding a screw or moving a box from one store to another store. Things that they really could have done by themselves. Like very
Gaming in a nutshell, especially RPGs. Full of lazy NPCs, and they get you, especially in RPGs, where you're like the pretty much a living god at one point, and like the hero and savior of the entire world or universe, but they'll still ask you to move boxes. Or, fetch some soup. Really, really stupid stuff.
very easily. And hey, I'm happy to help, but they don't even have an excuse as to why they're doing an impersonation of a baked potato. It's not that their legs are broken after falling out of a hot air balloon. No, they're just relying on the kindness of a wandering Yoshi that's still working through a psychological requirement to do everything that is asked of him without questioning it because he believes that is the only thing he can do to give his life value. But thankfully, like every extraneous mode in the game, it's completely optional. Honestly, to have any semblance of a narrative guiding you through a Mario Party game was both jarring and alarming, but I began to appreciate it more and more as time went on. By doing these little tasks, you get decoration for the party plaza, which was very welcome because the default plaza looked like an absolute dumpster fire. These decorations range from subtle to drastic to, oh my god, is that Mario's head on a stick? Oh, it's just his hat. Oh, that was close.
That's what I would have thought of first, to be honest.
As I moved further with this game mode, the importance of my assistants became much more clear. By the time I was engaging in a boss battle with the help of companions I made along the way, I was downright dedicated to my mission of claiming some shiny.
So boss battle, is that like a mini game, or is there actually a campaign in this one? Mario Party has never really done a campaign, which would be pretty unique and cool.
Any objects that I had already collected so that Toad would have enough decorations for a pirate-themed party.
Okay, yeah, still looks like a mini game. Okay.
The secondary starting point is the hot air balloon, where you can get a good look at everything you can do, and there's so much to do. From this,
I generally won't be covering Switch games on here. I mean, I might critique videos like this. Well, not really critique, more like just comment on it. I guess some critiquing, but one, the Switch is way overblown in price where I live, and two, they never expand their IPs. I'm at this point, I'm just so sick of Mario and Zelda over and over. I know they do them really well and they have unique ideas with each one, but I'm at the point where I can't really, I don't know, don't have the time or money that I actually want to invest into their systems. And the Switch is at the end of their life, basically. We'll see what they come out with next. But yeah, generally, I'm almost exclusively on PC now. And between PC and VR, you get access to basically everything. Especially if you're okay with emulation, because you can grab an emulator and then just buy the games off the shelf and then transfer them to PC, which is, I don't know, you have to check your local laws, but here it's completely legal as long as you own the copy and you're not, selling the copies. But if you have a PC where I live, it pretty much covers all your bases. And then you get a cheap wireless VR, which can also connect to PC, and that's what I'm running. So I literally have access to all the games I could ever want. So if I do want to pick up Nintendo games, I could technically just use emulator and run things at, 4K 60 FPS better than the actual console does without breaking any laws. But yeah, that's why I generally won't cover them. I wish they came out with more IPs, something more original, because they have great ideas, which they inject into their old IPs, but they don't couple it ever with new IPs. So it's just, for me, it's kind of stagnant. I have lots of great memories when I was a kid, but I'm kind of over the whole Mario and Zelda thing at this point. I would love for them to do something completely new and to go into new territory, come up with some new mascots, etc., etc.
This vantage point, you can jump to the Mario Party Islands, Minigame Bay, the Koopathlon, Bowser Kaboom Squad, which is exactly as fun as it sounds, 3 different motion control games, all of which have several games within each game. There's just so much to do. But the hot air balloon is not just for picking your next destination. You can also zoom in with your binoculars and take pictures to get points or unlock new characters.
Okay, that's good.
The camera.
A big thing about the previous Mario Party games is the huge lack of content, especially as the series went on. It was just less and less replayable. It's kind of cool that they're adding all this stuff back in, and seems like one of the bigger Mario parties.
Is embedded in the binoculars, or if it's like putting a phone camera up to the lens of a telescope, but however it works, it works. They've even gone to the effort of adding special sound effects to each area that you can only hear if you look close enough. Again, the logistics of this lead to a lot more questions than answers, like how can binoculars amplify sound waves? It's not for small minds to ponder. There are 7 boards in the Mario Party mode, though several need to be unlocked first by gaining party points.
7's not too bad.
I thought meant gaining favor with the coolest guy at the party, whose name is probably Brent, by either doing backflips into the pool or doing an impressive set of close-up magic. Somehow I was wrong. These party points open up new modes and collectibles that keep you feeling like there's even more around every corner, because there's so much to do.
Okay, it looks like they kind of added like the achievements like Smash Brothers have had for a while, where it unlocks little things and you have these little achievements running in the background, which is a good idea. Because I'm not a huge Smash fan, but I love like their setup and their achievements and how they tie in and all the lockables and the crazy amount of characters and such. Even if I don't play the games, I can still respect things that they do.
To unlock each board, but you're definitely going to have fun doing it. Actually, I shouldn't promise that. I've met a few people in my day who couldn't have fun if they were taking a tour of the Grand Canyon and their guide was a pug on a motorcycle. So I'll just say you'll probably have fun doing it. When starting a game, you can customize a ton of rules that were never offered before. You can turn off motion controls for those who enjoy their Pro controllers
okay, that's good.
Don't have an enormous desire to break all of the lamps in their living room. For the small percentage of players who wish to...
And the motion control minigames are always the one you get tired of first. Most of them end up just being a waggle fest. It's boring. It's okay for a while, but yeah. It's good that there's options.
Limit their relentless torture, you now have Pro Rules. This option dramatically changes how each game is run. With Pro Rules, there's only one bonus star that's announced at the start. It's a fixed number of turns. You get to choose an item before your first turn. There are no chance time spaces, no item mini-games, limited stock for items in shops. Landing on a Bowser space always takes away a star. There are signs to indicate where the stars might move to. No hidden blocks. Players vote for the next mini-game. This is something that can be changed in the standard part.
Man, this sounds all pretty good.
Special events for the home stretch of the game. And dueling another player can now result in losing a star.
It sounds a lot more strategic and a lot less chance-based, which is always nice.
Not just coins. If that interests you, you're in luck, even though luck is all but removed from the equation. If that does not interest you, guess what? It's optional, so you don't need to keep complaining about it, Trevor. In general, the game rules and dice...
I want to say you'd be surprised by the amount of people that complain about optional options, but people always find something to complain about, especially if an option's included that they don't care about. It's called an option for a reason. You don't have to use it, but so many people will complain that something exists on some level, and it's ridiculous because you never have to use it. You can argue whether something should be enforced by default or not, but beyond that, more options, the better. More customization, the better, which is why I love PC and modding and VR's in that space too. You'd actually be quite surprised how moddable and just how configurable VR games are too. Not just in terms of like motion sickness, but in terms of gameplay and just basic gameplay mods or visual mods or anything. It's a pretty well open platform, but that kind of goes without saying since at its core it is Android OS based. So it makes sense. It's not like Apple where everything's closed off and you can't do anything. I really like how open-ended it is.
Dice rolls are much closer to Superstars and other earlier entries in the series, which I was very relieved to see. Each of the boards are completely unique in both presentation and special events. They're pretty much an ideal blend between Super and Superstars. No more boring grid pattern, but we still have dynamic changes that keep you on your toes. When booting up a board for the first time, there's so many special elements to remember it's nearly impossible to keep track of everything. But this only encourages repeat playthroughs to get more comfortable with each board. Cursed dice are now creepy dice, which I think makes them even less desirable. players actually move out of the way for you, which
Birdo's
is
still the most
benevolent.
creepy thing in Mario.
Traps can be used on any board. They're sort of the spiritual successor to the piranha plants in Peach's birthday cake. The stars aren't typically offered by any particular character, so they're much more lonely now and makes me want to collect them even more. You gotta give them a good home, you know? You'll notice the order of events changes on the bottom, so you always know what's coming next. The AI players can range from brilliant to self-sabotaging, which is quite realistic now that I think about it. Throughout your games, you can acquire Jamboree Buddies, which, similar to Super Mario Party, can help quite a lot, but they're also kind of annoying and I hate them. Jamboree Buddies are limited to one at a time, thankfully, and you have to play a minigame showdown to find out who gets them first. This showdown is different for each character, but it takes entirely too long to complete. You can spend eons winning over their heart only for them to immediately abandon you as soon as another player passes right by. It really puts their loyalty into perspective. When you have an ally, you can get extra coins and be able to buy 2 stars at once, but you can also get double the consequences. At the end of each turn, we see platforms rise and fall with the current rankings, even more evidence that short people are not valued in our society. Over on Mega Wiggler's Tree Party, the center spaces can shift at a moment's notice. Aside from that, it's one of the more simple maps that doesn't induce too much untamable rage. It's actually become a bit of a comfort board for me. The one I was expecting to be the most relaxing was Rainbow Castle, but Flower and I spent 95.
Never expect anything in the Mario universe with the word rainbow in it to be relaxing. They've always been the worst. And on purpose, the most infuriating, the hardest, just the craziest ones. I don't know. I'm kind of calling you out here. What did you expect, Dirt?
5% of the time with Bowser at the helm and scary rock and roll music playing way too loud.
To be fair, it doesn't look like a typical rainbow
Galleria has
setting for Mario.
Floors, escalators, an
There's
elevator,
another one.
stamps that can be exchanged for coins, a raffle that I still have not been able to enter, and a ton of shops.
Yeah, these
Roll 'em
boards look way
Raceway was
better
one that I
than the
was
previous
concerned
ones.
about from the trailers.
Like from their
I
other
had no
games.
idea how they were going to make it seem like you're not wasting a ton of gas idling your engines as you roll 1s and 2s.
Okay, that's cool. So on the racetrack, you actually
But there
go into
are
a
lot of
cart.
events and ways
like
to
that.
speed things up. You also stop the dice with your spoiler, which is tremendous. As with all maps, luck is as predictably unpredictable as ever.
As a
And this
Mario
one you can
Party
tell
game
has
at the
a
end of the day.
Western theme because there's a cowboy hat. There are a ton of mini games to experience with a solid variety across the board. Some are the epitome of frustrating, as they should be. There really is a lot to see, including references.
Yeah, it looks like there's a
to
huge
Indiana
variety this
Jones,
time. Way more than other
Real
ones.
Steel, No Man's Sky, but
And
I
like
do
such
have
a-
some concerns.
Such a huge like variety of like not just types of mini games, but like the camera positions and like the graphical, not necessarily the base graphical style, but the way they stylize each one. Yeah. I can already tell that there's way more variety than a lot of the other Mario Party games.
The zip lines didn't have any safety harnesses at all. The bongo drums seem to be really out of tune. And Goomba definitely needs to work on his vertical leap. The only repetitive thing I kept seeing was this screen in particular. Just over and over.
What?
All the time. It was basically the only screen that I saw repeating itself.
You gonna make a joke about how wrong that
So
looks?
strange. I don't know if it was a glitch or an intentional decision by the developers, but this animation got a lot of screen time. Overall, I could have done with a few more mini games, like maybe 300 or 400 more would have been really nice.
Can never have too many.
Games certainly feel like they take a lot longer than they used to, and with how big the boards are, those final results can look much more minuscule than usual. and this is rubbed in your face even more during the recap. Okay, we get it, nothing happened, we get it. There are so many records, so many achievements, so many unlocks, so many statistics. I felt like a data analyst looking through spreadsheets. It was actually kind of comforting.
I was going to say, I actually prefer that.
It's time to shake things
I
up.
like analytical
Head over
crap.
to the Capathlon, where you can join the ranks of 20
I like getting
total
sunk into that.
competitors, where you'll play simultaneous mini games with an emphasis on speed and competitiveness. These can be really quick sessions if you want them to be, and are a great way to pack a lot of energy into a small amount of time. Right next door is a beautiful cooperative game where everyone bullies Bowser by gathering cannonballs and then kicking him in the stomach. This takes a fair bit of time to complete, but allows you to play a bunch of collaborative minigames that you otherwise can't experience. There's even a tiny amount of strategy involved. The highest flying collection of games actually puts Mario in the driver's seat in a Mario Party game.
Okay, and there's
What a
split screen
twist.
too. That's good. I
This
mean,
utilizes
Nintendo's one of the few that
Joy-Cons
still
in the
does it.
expected way of airing out your deodorant. There are 3 modes within this mode that can all lead to peculiar sights. I never thought I would carry Bowser in a little basket while flapping wings made from the feathers of 400 pigeons. Something that Wii Sports Resort never had the guts to do was let you fly around freely without a time limit, and for this I am eternally grateful. Sometimes the camera is frustrating and you do fall at the pace of a mortally wounded mosquito, but it's hard to complain about a game mode that's as peripheral and altogether unneeded as these. Is it strange? Yes. Is it unnecessary? Yes. Do I love it? Yes. Also exclusively utilizing the Joy-Cons are Toad's Item Factory and the Rhythm Kitchen. Toad's flat puzzle game has you combining marbles that get flattened and turned into items, don't think about it. There are 10 areas with 3 stages each, leading to quite a few brain teasers that often require quite a bit of finesse. In the Rhythm Kitchen, you face 3 special challenges where everything must be on the beat. If you don't do things at the exact right moment, there's no going back and the meal will be ruined and the judges will burn you, don't think about it.
Yeah, the amount of variety and just like I said, the art style and just the general feel of all the different mini games just from watching it. Man, they really stepped up their game. I guess maybe they finally realized, or they got a new studio to step in, new figureheads behind, where we're just like, come on, we got to make a good Mario Party game. It's been probably over a decade since we came out with one that people absolutely go crazy for. And yeah, this looks great.
And this game mode in particular it's fine. It's okay. I don't hate it. I don't have anything against
It's an extra thing to
nothing
do.
wrong with it. I'm not upset about it. I don't even need to talk about it. Not that I want to avoid talking about it. I can talk about it whenever. It's fine. I'm fine. It's fine. Over at Minigame Bay, you can play, get this, mini games. There's even an unlockable boss rush game where you have to defeat 4 different monsters who I think are just misunderstood. It feels like a miniature tournament that I enjoy.
Okay, so and bosses
more
of
than I
health
thought
bars
it
that
would.
mix in with the mini games. Okay, yeah, that looks
You can
cool.
jump into
I love boss
online
fights.
games very quickly for specific matches or lobbies, or in survival you can rank up 1 round at a time where you only advance if you get first place. But Dirt, surely you must have more complaints. You bet I do. This Bowser's too large. He's never gonna fit through doorways with that build. Oh, wait a second. Also, your Jamboree buddies don't make any noise when they clap. If this was a mistake, it's slightly upsetting. Don't make any noise when they...
Yeah, that Yoshi's position constantly, that seems to be like his excited position, and it's just, maybe it's supposed to symbolize him just before he, lays an egg, but it's just, ooh. I could see a lot of jokes or memes coming out of this. So much could be said, but let's not.
A clap. If this was a mistake, it's slightly upsetting. If they're being intentionally passive-aggressive, it's much more upsetting. Also, Bowser snaps now. I don't know how to feel about it, I'm just reporting it. Looking around, it just feels like they threw everything they possibly could at this game. I imagine they had a plethora of ideas
and that's not a bad thing when it comes to a party game.
Them all into one game, even if it didn't make sense.
Yep. I'm okay with that.
Playing 3 games with my beloved Flower, streaming 4 different game modes with my good buddy Z, and recording gameplay for 5 hours, there were still 50 mini-games I hadn't seen yet.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Everything is so polished and complete, it's bizarre that this is exactly what it looked like upon release. An argument can be made that this is the best Mario Party game ever, and I'm making that argument. This is the best. It's the goat. It's the alpaca. It's the pelican. I'm sick and tired of being overly cautious about handing out praise in a world where criticism is found in every corner of the internet. This game is a treasure, and I will tolerate no slander against it. That being said, your opinion still means a lot to me, so tell me what you think of it in the comments, or via telepathy, whichever is more convenient.
How about a reaction video?
And if you're someone who is negatively swayed by good reviews because you think it can never live up to the hype, don't buy it. It's terrible.
Well, that was Dirt the Gamer, and this is just a small taste of him. Sorry. Wait, fix this? All right. Yeah. So Dirt the Gamer, he's amazing. All his videos are great. Like I said, I'm not into No Man's Sky. He has a ton of videos about those, and I still watch them because they're great. And yeah, make sure you go subscribe and like any of his videos you see. I would definitely advise you go see his podcast videos. They're usually around like half an hour, but the only reason I decided not to do one of those, even though they would be a better showcase of what he does, is, well, let's just say I had a 25-minute video of the Kingard. Was it yesterday or the day before? And I turned that into like an hour-long video. So I gone way too long, and this is already going to be long enough. So I didn't want to cover one of his podcasts and come out with like an hour and a half episode. I know people don't like to sit down for that long, even though I've been, publishing an hour here and an hour there of like the new Batman game. And then I just released my 3rd impressions video of the new Batman VR, and that's over 3 hours long. It's starting to turn into less of an impressions and more of just like me having fun in the Batman sandbox. So that's been amazing. But yeah, definitely check out Dirt the Gamer, especially his 30-minute podcasts. Let's check out a couple comments here. Dirt, don't you need friends for Mario Party? Nope. Computer opponents are always on standby. Okay, that's great. The best YouTuber ever. Oh yeah, he's definitely up there. Out of the small creators, I'd say him and Kung Fu Hot Dog are some of my favorites. I haven't played a Mario Party game in a hot minute. Is it true that this is the first Mario Party game with online multiplayer? Is it? 2018's you could, but this one has a lot more ways to play. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's good. Anyways, definitely go check him out. He's great. And I hope to cover him again in the future. All right. See you guys on the next one. Thanks.